Welcome to this online worship service. I'm the Reverend Dr. Natalie Fenimore, and I minister to this congregation with the Reverends Jennifer Brower and the Reverend Jay Brooks, and our student minister, Aaliyah Shenbo. Although we continue to be physically distant to protect public health, we also continue to create a loving religious community, encourage spiritual growth, and build a more just and joyful world. We seek to restore the balance of our spirits, to celebrate the joys of life, and to find the strength to meet our sorrows. You may be new to Unitarian Universalism. Ours is a religious tradition which embraces the wisdom of all faiths and values diversity. We believe in using science, reason, and the gifts of the Spirit to explore life's mystery and meaning. We believe that you do not have to think alike to love alike. Please visit our website for more information on Unitarian Universalism and the Unitarian Universalist congregation at Shelter Rock. At noon each Sunday, you are invited to our virtual coffee hour to meet new friends and to see the faces of friends you are missing. This worship service welcomes memories of Hanukkah into our community. Let us worship together.
And now a medley of two of my favorite Hanukkah songs. The first is Dreidel from the great cantor Moshe Oisher, and the second is Yevanim, which talks about the miracle of Hanukkah.
Our chalice lighting words are by Albert Schweitzer. At times, our own light goes out and is rekindled by another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us. Our opening words are by Adrian Rich. My heart is moved by all I cannot save. So much has been destroyed, I have to cast my lot with those who, age after age, perversely, with no extraordinary power, reconstitute the world.
Hanukkah is the commemoration of a time in Jewish history. In 165 BCE, the land of Judea was occupied by a foreign army. Many Jewish people did not like the way that others tried to rule over them. They did not want to worship Greek gods in the Jewish temple. The people wanted to determine for themselves how they would practice their faith and not have it decided by others. The leader of those who resisted was Judah Maccabee, and his followers were called the Maccabees. They decided to fight for their religious freedom, for the freedom to determine their own identity. The Maccabees were facing a much larger army, but they were determined. The Maccabees fought for years and finally won their freedom. To seal that victory, the Maccabees went to the Jewish temple in Jerusalem, and they sought to rededicate that temple for Jewish worship. When they got to the temple, there was only enough pure and blessed oil to burn during the rededication ceremony for one night. You might imagine the sadness, the tiredness present in that moment, after so many years of struggle, to find that you might not be able to have the ritual that signaled that all would now be made right. Still, in that moment, the Maccabees found the strength and the faith to move forward. They lit the menorah with the oil, and they hoped for the best. They prayed for the best. And their determination, their first step, called forth a miracle. The oil that should have lasted for only one night lasted for 8 nights. And 8 nights was what it took to press more oil to continue burning the menorah for as long as the temple stood. Hanukkah commemorates this miracle, and each year, Jewish people around the world reenact the Maccabees bringing the light to the temple. You don't have to believe in miracles or be Jewish to find meaning in this story. You can believe that light will always push back darkness. The wheel of the year will turn from winter to spring. This year, the darkness is compounded by so much more. There is COVID pandemic. There was election anxiety, racial unrest and protest. Night after night and candle after candle, we can fight against hate and fear and pour into this darkness hope and resilience. The Hanukkah story can remind us that each of us can light a candle in the darkness. Each of us may light just one candle and find that our one light leads to other lights being lit. We can ourselves be beacons of hope and renewal. Each year at Hanukkah, people are asked to imagine themselves as capable of participating in miracle making.
We gather in the coming chill of winter, approaching winter solstice, finding warmth from each other, nourishing hope where reason fails. Grateful for small miracles, we rejoice in the wonder of light and darkness and the daring of hope. Holy One of blessing, your presence fills creation. You made us holy with your commandments and called us to kindle the Hanukkah lights. Holy One of blessing, your presence fills creation. At this season you performed miracles for our ancestors in days of old. Holy One of blessing, your presence fills creation. You have kept us alive. You have sustained us. You have brought us to this moment.
We eat from fields we have not planted, and drink from wells we have not dug. And this is acceptable, as long as each in our own way we contribute to the health and the well-being and the thriving of those who share with us in being part of the interdependent web of all existence. Today we are taking up a collection for 2 organizations and extending our reach and care far out into the interdependent web. The first organization I'd like to tell you about is the AIDS Center of Queens County, which is, I know, well known to many of us. We've had a long relationship with them. But there are others here who don't know much about ACQC and who would benefit from knowing about the good work they do in the world. ACQC's mission is to enhance the quality of life of those living with HIV and AIDS, hepatitis C, and other chronic health conditions. ACQC offers a wide variety of community programs for people of all ages, from medical care and pharmacy support to holiday meals and holiday gifts for children and teens. ACQC helps to house the homeless and the precariously housed. They offer programs for at-risk teens and are now collecting warm clothing for those who are spending way too much time outside as the weather gets cold and will get colder still. ACQC needs our support. We hope that you'll join us in supporting them. The second organization that I'd like to tell you about today is the North Shore Soup Kitchen's NOSH program. The North Shore Soup Kitchen created the NOSH program in response to COVID-19 and the recognition that it was no longer safe for folks to come into the soup kitchen to receive food or to serve food. So the volunteers of the North Shore Soup Kitchen created the NOSH program to extend food out into the community. They are delivering to more than 360 households every week. We like to believe that there is no food scarcity on the North Shore of Long Island. But there is. There are 360 households receiving meal kits every week. And I am willing to bet that there are many others who could be receiving food too. Please give as generously as you are able. It is our task to take care of those in this world, to reach out and support and encourage the thriving and well-being of each other. Thank you for your contributions. The donation information will be available on your screen.
The original story of Hanukkah is about a military victory. But after the battles, Judah Maccabee ordered festivals and feasting. These are signs of new life. Today, the Hanukkah Commemoration includes traditions and rituals that bring together faith and family and embraces community spirit. For the 8 nights of Hanukkah, Jewish families gather to light the menorah candles, say prayers and blessings, and eat food which connects them to the ancient story. And children sing and play the dreidel game.
A reading by Susanna Seaton, Dreidel Dreams. The classic dreidel song is, of course, dreidel, 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 I made it out of clay, and when you're dry and ready, oh dreidel, I will play. But I learned from experience that the song is not necessarily true. My first grade class was making projects from clay, and they were going to bake them in the Kill, a mysterious fire-breathing oven in the school basement. We could make anything we wanted, and my mind went immediately to the dreidel song. How clever! I would indeed make a dreidel, dreidel, dreidel out of clay. And when it was finished, I would play with the coolest dreidel in town. On Clay Day, I got my mom to unearth my blue and gold dreidel from the holiday stuff in the garage so that I could bring it to school. I wanted to model the dreidel I would make to be just like it. It was an eternity before my clay dreidel was made and glazed and returned from the Kill. When I spotted my completed dreidel, it was fantastic, glistening in the sun, an exact ceramic copy of the plastic dreidel. At first, I just held it in my hand, feeling the smooth surface and appreciating the heft. Surely this would spin for hours and would win me all the Hanukkah gelt. I allowed the teacher to carefully wrap it for the walk home. I proudly showed it to my mom. She oohed and ahed. I got down on the floor to give it a whirl. But it did not spin. It wobbled a bit. I like to believe it tried to spin, but my beautiful dreidel pretty much fell over. The song betrayed me. My toy never turned me into the dreidel shark I hoped to be, but it did become part of our annual holiday decoration, earning a place of honor on the mantle right next to the menorah.
I have a little dreidel, I made it out of clay, and when it's dry and ready, oh dreidel I shall play. Oh dreidel, 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 I made it out of clay. Oh dreidel, 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 oh dreidel I shall play. It has a lovely body, with legs so short and thin. When it gets so tired, it drops and then I win. Oh dreidel, 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 I made it out of clay. Oh dreidel, 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 oh dreidel I shall play. My dreidel's always playful, it loves to dance and spin. A happy game of dreidel, on clay now let's begin. Oh dreidel, 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 I made it out of clay. Oh dreidel, 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 oh dreidel I shall play. I have a little dreidel, I made it out of clay, and when it's dry and ready, oh dreidel I shall play. Oh dreidel, 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 I made it out of clay. Oh dreidel, 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 oh dreidel I shall play. Dreidel!
The best Hanukkah I can remember took place in Madison, Wisconsin in 1969. My father was a graduate student at the university, and we lived in a tiny apartment in married student housing. We had just moved in and had not met any other Jewish families, so we invited our non-Jewish neighbors to join us for the first night of Hanukkah. They were obviously nervous about celebrating what was to them a foreign ritual, but the kids relaxed as soon as my father presented them each with $1 for Hanukkah gelt. After loading up on my mother's latkes and applesauce, everyone felt comfortable enough to stay and hear the Hanukkah story and play a game of dreidel. Seeing Hanukkah through the eyes of our neighbors gave me a whole new appreciation for the holiday.
Hello, friends. I grew up celebrating Hanukkah, and this year the holiday holds an extra special meaning for me. While I've always cherished the occasion as a symbol of religious freedom, I also really like the message of making do with what you have in tough times. Today's story is about a family that just moved to a new apartment and can't find the box with all they need to celebrate Hanukkah, so they do the best they can with what they can find or borrow. It kind of reminds me of how the Maccabees had to make do with the small amount of oil they found when they reclaimed the Jewish temple in Jerusalem, an amount that only should have rekindled the eternal flame for one night, but ended up burning for 8 nights. Let's see what Hanukkah miracles are to be found in this story. On the first night of Hanukkah, Mom couldn't find the menorah. "Special delivery," said Dad, arriving with pizza. Max and Rachel looked at each other. "No menorah? No latkes?" "It's just for tonight," said Mom. "I'm sure we'll find our Hanukkah things tomorrow." Exhausted from unpacking, the family sat down to dinner in their new apartment. It was nice, but it didn't feel quite like Hanukkah. On the second night, the missing menorah still hadn't turned up. "Should we go to the store?" asked Max. "No, we'll find it soon," said Rachel. "Besides, I have an idea for tonight." Rachel made a beautiful menorah. Max helped her decorate it. But when it came to light the candles, Mom realized she packed them with the menorah. "Now should we go to the store?" asked Max. Mom checked her watch and shook her head. "Everything's probably closed by now." Max and Rachel convinced Mom to let them ask one neighbor. They knocked on 2C, right next door, and explained the situation to Mrs. Mendez. "Would these work?" she asked. "Maybe," said Rachel. Dad lit the shamus. Max and Rachel used it to light a candle. And then Max and Rachel both got presents. It was nice, but it didn't feel quite like Hanukkah. On the third night, Dad offered to make latkes. He just needed to find his lucky latke pan. As Dad searched through box after box, Max followed his nose downstairs to 1B, where he met Joe, the super. "Welcome to the building," said Joe. "Need anything? Let me know." "Anything?" asked Max, eyeing the steaming platter. Joe happily shared. It was nice, but it didn't feel quite like Hanukkah. On the fourth night, Max said, "Let's play dreidel." One problem. No dreidel. "I'm beginning to think one of our boxes got lost," said Dad. So Mom called the moving company. Max and Rachel set out to find a dreidel. The Watson twins, who lived upstairs in 3B, didn't have one, but they did have a toy that could spin and spin. It was nice, but it didn't feel quite like Hanukkah. On the 5th night, Max and Rachel figured out a way to play dreidel, which meant they needed gelt. No chocolate coins, but I do have these, said Mr. Patel in 4A. It was nice, but it didn't feel quite like Hanukkah. On the 6th night, Rachel wanted to have a Hanukkah sing-along, but Mom's guitar hadn't arrived yet. Gigi has one, shouted the Watson twins, running up to 5C. It turned out they were almost right. Mom taught Gigi the chords to Rock of Ages, and everyone sang. It was nice, but it didn't feel quite like Hanukkah. On the 7th night, Max and Rachel discovered they were missing something else. How do you wrap a present without any wrapping paper? On their way outside, they saw Dr. Lee reading in the lobby. When they asked him where to buy wrapping paper, he handed him the comics. Try using these, suggested Dr. Lee. So they did. It was nice, but it still didn't feel quite like Hanukkah. On the 8th night, Max realized what their Hanukkah needed: jelly donuts. It took knocking on several doors, but Max finally got his jelly from the twins' mom in 3B. Just not in donut form. That was nice, said Rachel as they walked downstairs. Max took a bite and finished her thought. But it doesn't feel quite like Hanukkah. Next morning, there was a knock at the door. Special delivery! Only this time, it wasn't Dad or pizza, and it wasn't the long-lost box. Let's have a Hanukkah sing-along tonight, suggested Mom. Last night was the 8th night, Rachel reminded her. It won't be Hanukkah anymore. Maybe it should be, said Max, pointing. 9 candles, 9 nights. Rachel's eyes lit up. She whispered to Max. Max whispered back. And together they developed a plan. With a box of candles and a box of crayons, they set it in motion. That evening, Max and Rachel waited. And waited. Maybe this isn't going to work, said Max. It'll work, said Rachel, sounding more confident than she felt. Just then there was a knock at the door. And another. And another. Max and Rachel thanked them all for coming. Then they explained the reason for their Shamus night celebration. For 8 nights of Hanukkah, the Shamus helps light all the other candles, said Max. Like all of you helped us, added Rachel. So we wanted to say thanks to the Shamus and to you. Just then, a voice called out from the back of the line of guests. Special delivery! The missing box, said Mom. Now that's what I call a miracle, said Dad. In the box, Max and Rachel found their family menorah, Hanukkah candles, Dad's lucky latke pan, dreidels and gelt, wrapping paper, and Aunt Edith's recipe for jelly donuts. So on the 9th night in their new home, Max and Rachel and their new friends talked and laughed, ate and played games, sang and danced by the light of many candles. It was nice. Really, really nice. Best of all, it felt exactly like Hanukkah.
Please join me in a moment of silence, meditation, or prayer with these words by Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel. Prayer invites God to be present in our spirits and in our lives. Prayer cannot bring water to parched land, nor mend a broken bridge, nor rebuild a ruined city. But prayer can water an arid soul, mend a broken heart, and rebuild a weakened will. There is a festival of lights. A candle is lit in the darkness, and hope enters the world. A candle is lit in the darkness, and the heaviness of winter is lifted. A candle is lit in the darkness, and we can again know that the miracle of love and light, of hope and renewal is possible. It is at hand. This may seem almost impossible to believe in these times when so many live in discomfort. This is perhaps the irrational, but it is the gift of faith. In our discussion of the book Jewish Voices in Unitarian Universalism this fall, members of UUCSR identified some of the gifts from Judaism which they brought with them to Unitarian Universalism. Among these gifts are the call to forgiveness, not only forgiveness as a concept, but forgiveness as an action, having the need to make amends with those you have wronged, and to always know that you can make a change and make a difference. And a full ritual life, a time when all that you are doing, tells a story of faith and invites you into that story with food, with play, candle lighting. Each generation anew becomes part of the story and the tradition. And from Judaism, the desire for Sabbath, for rest and reflection, a time to slow down and set aside the hectic pace of life, a time to consider what is really important, a time to be grateful for life itself. In Judaism, and in many faith traditions, Unitarian Universalists find knowledge and wisdom. We are not all Unitarian Universalist Jews, of course, and our appreciation for Jewish ritual life does not mean that we can, in any way, appropriate those rituals as our own, but Unitarian Universalists honor Judaism. We bring into our ever-widening community the many traditions and practices and grow a Unitarian Universalist faith home enriched and expanded by all our diversities. Our hope is that religious diversity, religious freedom, and inclusion becomes for all a source of strength and creativity in our world, and not a source of conflict or division. May we know one another as the neighbors we are. Our love and compassion for each other, for one another, can be a candle in the darkness.
Good, and together one more time.
May we honor the lights of Hanukkah, the candles in the darkness. May we celebrate all the gifts that those of many cultures and faith traditions bring to this, our Unitarian Universalist home. Go in peace.
So the menorah is ready to be lit. I always enjoy at home this is now for the 8th night, the last night, and I enjoy so much seeing the flames burn and the warmth that it brings. So we light the shamas. And with that, we light the other candles.
This song is from the repertoire of the great clarinetist Naftula Brandwein. It's called a hora mit sibilis. That means a hora with onions. It's very appropriate for Hanukkah because you need onions to make latkes. Anyway, enjoy.